navigate your path through life, all that is required is that you take one step at a time. Though hard it may be at times, each day, be committed to show up strong. Some days your strength can look different to other days. Just know this, that whenever you're at your worst, try to look your best. Dress up and face the world. That's the first step towards moving forward. Remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one simple step. Lao Tzu.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the official launch and the first program of the One Step podcast and talk show. I'm Dr. Jozelle Miller. I am a psychologist, post-traumatic recovery growth coach, author, here in the lovely island of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I am honored to host this program. The main aim of this program is to highlight and to present stories and testimonies of persons who would have navigated difficult times and they would have overcome challenges in their own lives. I grew up hearing the song, "One Step at a Time, Sweet Jesus." And the thing about that is that we think that it is so easy, but oftentimes we prove to be, easier said than done. That we realize that as life comes at us, sometimes making that next step, picking ourselves up can be such a difficulty, such a challenge. And we want to showcase persons who would have demonstrated resilience, who would have been positive, who would have, allowed themselves not just to stay down, but to figure out how to get back up and to keep moving. On this platform, we are going to also present wellness strategies and tips because we look at the holistic development of the individual. Today, on our first program, we are going to be featuring an inspiring individual from the land of many rivers, Guyana. But even before we dive deep and get into that conversation with our special guest, I want us to pause right now and take just a few moments to recognize our sponsors. We'll be right back. Thank you for staying with us, and we are back, and we are now going to be speaking with our special guest, Miss Setra O'Selmo from the lovely Guyana. Now, Setra is someone that I met some months ago, and I was so inspired by her story, by her life, by her, her enthusiasm about life. And I felt who best to start off our podcast, our programming, than to have a conversation with the beautiful Setra. Hi, Setra.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. How are you today?
I am very much well. Thanks for asking.
Great. Thank you so much for being a part of this podcast. And I know that your story is definitely going to be one that touches the hearts of many others. And just to dive right into it, I want you to give us an idea. Just tell us a bit about yourself in terms of who you are, what do you do?
Thank you so much. And I must say, I am honored to be a part of your show. Well, your first show, so that makes me extra special. So I'm happy about that. Thank you. So who is Setra? She's a sister. She's a friend. She's a daughter. She's a cosmetologist, a general one at that, because she learns and specialize herself in all aspects of cosmetology. She is a person who advocates for persons with disability. She's also a philanthropist, and she's also herself, very quiet, a little introverted, a little extroverted. So, yes, Petra can be many things.
Yes, with a beautiful smile at that.
Thank you.
You mentioned that you're a cosmetologist.
Mhm.
And when we spoke some months ago, you also noted that you do the sister lock,
Yes.
right?
Lactation.
What do you call it?
A lactation.
You're a loctician. And
Yes.
your story started by you basically would have had an accident some years ago. And
Mhm.
I am guessing that growing up, you had another plan for your life. What would have been some of the things that you had in your mind in terms of what you wanted to do with your life?
Okay. So I'm going to be honest. Everybody asks me that question. And for me, I would always say it's like I was clueless as to what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I always liked the whole idea of beautifying person. But growing up in a Rastafarian background, that was a no-no.
Mm-hmm.
So besides from that, I've never seen myself doing any other thing. All I knew is that I never want to work with anybody.
Yes.
And when the accident happened, that was my escape to doing what I love, because then nobody would want to say no or discourage you to, make you feel more depressed or anything. So they just allowed me to feel my way through it. And that's the birth of who I am today.
Okay. Tell us a little bit more about your accident. How
Okay,
old were
so,
you?
well, that's like about a little over 15 years, I think.
Okay.
2007,
Mm-hmm.
March 3rd, that's when I reached an accident, and I sustained spinal cord injury to level P7 of the spine, of which that makes me a paraplegic, and it means that I can use my two hands, but the other parts of my body, no, it don't
Yeah.
work. Yeah.
That must have been quite devastating at that time. How
Oh,
did
definitely.
how did you cope? What were some of the things that you used as a coping mechanism? Did you have a support system? How did you decide to push through and to, be here today in 2023 as this positive individual still going for her dreams?
Okay, so I've had my support system. My parents, well, it's a big family. As I mentioned when we met, it's 11 children, you know. So my support system is pretty big, and everybody support me in whatever it is that I want to do. So that was never a problem. I think most of what I suffer from was a little bit more psychologically, that how I see myself back out there after being this independent go-getter person, because I used to model, I cycle, I dance, I swam. There's nothing that I never did. I tried
Embrace
to,
life.
yes,
Yes.
everything. So from moving from that kind of person to not being able to do nothing at all, that was devastating. I think that messed with me to an extent that I thought that, you know what, this is it. Life over for me. There's nothing more that I can do. You know, no other feeling but, to the depths of the ground to me.
Yeah.
So that was pretty hard, and it's like a baby you're starting back from creeping, crawling, creeping, pulling yourself. So that was a journey, but I never regretted that journey. I think I am the happiest I can be right now because I've been through the worst.
Yeah.
I've had the lowest of feelings, and I'm at my greatest right now. I can be greater, you know.
So there's so much more in store, and as the
Yes.
years roll by, we expect to hear much more of Setra. But the thing is, when persons are going through their difficulty,
Mhm.
oftentimes we hear persons say, "This too shall pass," or
Mm,
"It's gonna get better." But it
mm.
doesn't really help that individual in that moment to feel
Oh
that
no.
they can take that next step.
Mm.
What was that moment for you that helped you really to say that I'm going to try to make that one step? Because the first step is the hardest, and not just literally a step, but in terms of that mindset that says I am not
Mm.
going to give up, I'm not throwing in the towel, I'm still going to push, I'm still going to try. What did it for you? What would have caused you to say that I'm going to keep going?
Okay, so that is like a pretty sad moment.
Yeah.
I mean, I talked about it a lot, but I still sort of get emotional when I talk about it because in my mind I'm like, why on earth did I do that? But I attempted suicide. That was my wake up call, and not only that I attempted, my sister caught me. The
Uh,
one that's the nurse, and she usually do everything medically for me. So when she was like, "What is it that you have in that cup?" My words was like, "Nothing."
yeah.
I'm ashamed that I was caught, but at that time, I don't know where my mind was. It was like everything was blank. I was just tired of persons doing everything for me. I was tired of waiting on everybody's time, because when I need something, I need it right away. But then back then, I never understood that everybody else had a life and they had their things to do, and it just don't surround me and just
Mhm.
me alone. So I was like, I had enough of this. I don't want to deal with this no more. And then two, the person that I was dating at that time had the guts to send a message and tell me that I am too much of a responsibility and they can't be with me anymore. So that too make it even worse. So I'm like, you know what, just finish with this and done.
Yeah.
But that is what birthed me because when I finally sat up, I went in front of the mirror and I said to myself, because I always had some lip gloss either way, even though I was Rastafarian and was prohibited, I always had some lip gloss stashed away. And I found my lip gloss and I put it on. And I look at myself in the mirror for the very first time after 3 years. And I'm like, what are you doing to yourself? You're very beautiful.
Yeah.
And at that moment I heard an advertisement on the television that states that they will be having a cosmetology class, and I'm like, the same sister that caught me, I told her, I said, you know what, I think I want to do cosmetology. Just take me to this place, let me find out the procedure and all these things. So I went, and the lady is going to accept me in the classes. I let her know everything that I go through medically, and check to see if her place is accessible and she's willing to make it accessible for me. So that was the birth of who I am today, right? It take a serious moment for me
Yeah.
to realize that there's much more to life, and you can do better. You can better yourself, and I did it.
Yeah, you did. And the thing is, you mentioned about the fact that you are at a psychological low, this dark
Mhm.
spot, and that is where you actually contemplated taking your life and just ending it. But the thing is, what change took place psychologically or mentally after that moment? Because yes, you decided that I'm going to pick myself up, I'm going to push, I'm going to go to cosmetology school. But what
Mhm.
changes took place in you as a person?
Okay, well, before that,
Hmm.
this too started when I overheard my dad speaking to a friend, because he always was very careful about what he says around me, or once I'm around. So he was telling the friend that his biggest fear is if something happened to him and mom, what would happen to me?
Ah,
because everybody else have their life. You know, they're gonna have their boyfriend or their husband or their wives or their girlfriend, and you know, I'm not saying that my siblings wouldn't look out for me, but they still have to have time for their family, right? And right there and then it clicked to me like, you know what? I gotta show him that I can take care of myself. So that too was a breakthrough moment. And that helped me psychologically that hear what? This man would never be okay with me living on my own. You
yeah,
know, so I have to prove to him that him and mom and everybody else I hear what? This girl can cope with it on her own even though she's in a chair. So yes, that was a
yeah,
big move in my mind, and I still have that drive today. You know, that I constantly just want to show them that I am okay, that I can do this.
yes.
You know, as a parent, you, your child is still your baby, regardless of how big they be.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yes, yes, that is so true. And the thing is, at one point, you felt as if you were a burden to them, but they're more concerned about the fact that they wanted you to be good and wanted you to be so empowered that you're able to take care of yourselves, that if something happened to them, you'll be good.
Hmm.
Right.
Definitely,
That only
definitely.
goes to show that sometimes we have sometimes the wrong perception of
Hmm.
how people might be thinking based on
Hmm.
how we are feeling at times. So we have to really keep in check the way we feel about a particular thing
That's right.
and
That's
to
right.
have that open communication so that even when we are feeling a particular way, it's probably the best thing to just simply have an honest conversation like, this is how I feel, and just to
Mm.
check whether or not persons are actually feeling that particular way about our situation.
That is true, but sometimes it's hard. You know, that persons would say, you know, I know how you feel. I just had a problem accepting that they know how I feel because you're not in the position. I
Yeah.
am in the position, and I am telling you that I am not okay,
Mhm.
or I'm telling you that I am okay just for you to not ask me any more questions. You know, so that's just basically it. It's something strange.
That's one of the things too that persons generally don't like to hear that question being asked repeatedly. Are you okay? Are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
What does that do to you? Like if you're in a position that you're feeling like, okay, I need to present this face that I'm okay, and people keep asking, do you feel like you have to constantly try to convince people that you're fine?
Ah, I probably would convince any other person, but never my mother. She always tells me that I'm okay. You know, but anybody else, yes, I can put up a front and a face. I'm fine,
Hmm.
and I would smile and
Yeah,
these things, but not my mother.
yeah.
Mm-mm.
And it's okay to not be okay.
That is true, and only now I understand that.
Hmm.
Only
Because
now I understand.
there are definitely some days that, we just don't feel like ourselves. And even in those moments, that's when we have to depend on the loved ones around us.
That's right. That's right. And I think for me, it gets better when I accept this reality,
Hmm.
right? It gives me more ease. I can do things better. I can think better than if, I just feel that, maybe someday or tomorrow I can get up and walk again and just be myself.
Yes,
I had to come to reality that this is what it is. And even if there's a chance sometime down in the future, well, then that's down in the future. When that time comes, it comes. But as of now, I am doing me. I
yes,
am being my best self in this space, in this time.
yes. And what are some of the things that you're able to do for yourself? Because that was what
Everything,
concern from your dad. So, okay. So you do everything for yourself.
everything for myself,
Hmm.
every single thing.
Oh,
So
very good.
I need not be dependent. I think it's probably just for wickedness. I would, like bug my siblings then. But besides from that, I can do everything because I fit all that I need in the space that I can get it.
Right.
You know. Yes, but like you said earlier, it was very hard for me to feel like I'm dependent because that was never me. I was never that dependent person. I always strive to do things and get things myself.
Mhm.
So to get out of that space, I'm like, you know what? I got to do everything. Even though that was a struggle for them, especially when it comes to cooking and being around the fire and these things. My mother had a serious problem with that.
Yeah.
So everything I do by getting away. So I wait until everybody was out of the house and I went ahead and do my cooking and I cook well. And when everybody gets back home, they were like, who cook? I'm like, me. And just like that, I get abused. And I'm like, but what you abusing for? You're hungry, just eat, you know? And, that was a mistake. So I had to be cooking steady after that, of which I don't have a problem.
Of course, of course. And
Yeah.
I believe one of the things you had mentioned is that you tend to do a lot of speaking engagements now.
Yes, I
Mm-hmm.
strive to do that because everyone look at me as this inspiring person, of which
Yeah,
you never really see it in yourself, but other persons would tell you how they feel about your content and what you do and these things. So yes, a lot of persons are inspired, and I'm like, if I'm gonna do this, I gotta speak. So that is one way of me targeting my introverted self.
of course.
Yes. So, and also, through doing that, I've saved many lives. And I am honored to be in that space to do that for those very few persons.
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes even have some anonymous calls from persons that I don't know. And, they tell me that they read my story in the papers or they saw my interview on Facebook or something. And, it made them feel better. And just by them feeling better, that makes me even more better.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because there's a purpose in everything. Sometimes we don't see it through the difficulties and through the darkness. We don't
Mm,
see it, but there is literally always a light at the end of the tunnel. So
that's
I am
right.
thankful that you rose to the occasion, that you took that step, and you're
Mm,
continuing to make those steps every single day. And we're gonna break now for yet another um, recognition of our sponsors. But when we come back, I just want you to be able to speak to someone who might be in a similar situation, who right now they are going through their dark spot. And if it's one voice they're going to hear, it's your voice, what would you want to say to them? So when we come
definitely.
right back.
Definitely. No problem.
One step, and we are here with the lovely Setra O'Selmo from Guyana, and she has been sharing her story as she would have been, triumphant over her accident that she would have had some 15 years ago, and now she is in a space where she's an entrepreneur, she is a motivational speaker, and she is doing life in this new way, doing this life in this exceptional way. And we want to invite Setra again to just tell us, if you had the opportunity, you said that persons will contact you sometimes anonymously and they will reach out having heard your story. And there is this person now who may come upon this podcast or this YouTube channel and they are themselves going through such a difficult situation. What would you say to them right now if you had the chance to speak to them?
Okay. So what I would say is that, hello, you there. I trust that all is well. Well, I'm hoping that you're well. So it's not an easy situation that you're going through. It takes a lot of guts. It pains. You feel like you lose something, but you lose anything. You know, allow yourself to feel what you're feeling and then ask yourself if it's doing you any good. If having these feelings bring you happiness or bring you joy or bring you some form of self improvement. If not, only you can change that. Only you can, look at yourself and be like, I want to be better. Just like me, who heard my dad talking or thinking about me if something happened to them. To me, that was my wake up call. What is your wake up call? Maybe it might be your kid, maybe it might be your mother, maybe it might be your spouse or something that, you just don't want them to think that you're a burden. Find what you love. I never thought that I could have done cosmetology if I had just limited myself to that. Of which, yes, I couldn't really use my hands much then, but with practice, I get to perfect my craft. So just the way I perfect my craft, you can perfect yours, and there's so much things that you can do um, when you're paraplegic or whatever issue you have. Just find what you love, and you would wake up every day ready to target what it is that you desire for yourself. Also, don't ever focus on the naysayers. The naysayers are just sad with themselves.
Yeah.
You work on you. Always try to perfect and better you. And yay, you probably might be like me today, all smiling, all happy, and you're not going to let anyone bring you down. So definitely that would be my advice.
Thank you so much. Find what you love. Yes. And it's so important for us to always target what is deep on the inside, what God has planted on the inside. You're already halfway there. You just need now to water that and let it grow. And stay away from the naysayers. I like that as well. Too often we have too many voices coming at us. And sometimes they are the negative ones that we hold on to. And one of
Mm,
the things that I am happy about in your case as well is that you weren't stuck on what was, but you were
that's right.
open to what could be. And that is
That's right.
what one step is about. One step forward, one step in a new direction, and being willing to be flexible and open to what God has in store. So I thank
That's right.
you so much for that.
And also, sometimes the naysayers can be your own self. So we have to be
Yes,
careful with that. It's
yes,
not just people, it's not just your family, but it's whatever is, because I gave her a name, I give that naysayer a name. I name her Jezebel. So when Jezebel started act up, I'm like, Jezebel, I'm ready for you today. Not today at all. So you have to find a way of making it fun,
yes.
right? So yeah, I give her a name. So I know when I catch her, I say, here, you better go in the car now. You know. So
That's
that's like a positive thing. So maybe whomever can try that too.
Well, that's definitely a good tip. Name the naysayer and get rid of that naysayer. And
That's
replace the
right.
naysayer with some other name that is a positive name. So when you hear that new name, then it brings
Mhm.
more joy. Yeah,
That's
that
right.
makes sense. That makes sense. So, Setra, as we wrap up,
Mhm.
what's next for you? What's next on your plate? What do you see yourself doing in another year or so?
I think you may have to invite me to another podcast.
Oh, of course.
So, because I'm gonna have something, but besides from, I think I want to um head into knowing a little bit more about psychology.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one in the future, but there's something that I'm hoping to execute that's closer to my heart, closer to my religion, sometime soon. But when you
Okay,
probably
okay.
when you invite me to another podcast, probably I would already execute it and I would just let you know how it went and how I feel about that, but as it is.
Yeah.
A little bit of psychology and herbal medicine is where I'm, looking at right now because of my feel. I'm more into skin and hair and makeup and all of these things. So I am looking at stuff that can help enhance
Well,
my
who knows?
platform just a little bit more.
Maybe it will be more than just being back on the podcast. Maybe I'll get you back to St. Vincent.
Eh,
And, maybe there's a project in the future that we can both work on. I am so
definitely.
I'm excited for whatever is ahead of you, and I wish you all God's blessings, much success in all of your endeavors, and continue to be that uplifting spirit and continue to encourage persons to keep moving. One step, that is what we are about. And this is where we are basically going to wrap up today, reminding persons that even when you feel you can't, the only thing we're asking you to do, take that one step. The journey of 1,000 miles begin with one single step. And those were the words from Lao Tzu, which is the mantra that we hold to. Take that step today. Don't give up. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you for having me, love. Have a great evening.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
As you navigate your path through life, all that is required is that you take one step at a time. Though hard it may be at times, each day, be committed to show up strong. Some days your strength can look different to other days. Just know this, that whenever you're at your worst, try to look your best. Dress up and face the world. That's the first step towards moving forward. Remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one single step. Lao Tzu.